What's good, YouTube? Wrestling Reacts back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be bringing you tier ranking every men's and women's Royal Rumble winners. Now, we are going to be ranking this based off of factors such as should they have won, did it cement them as a perennial main eventer, did it lead to an entertaining WrestleMania match, what was the context leading into the Royal Rumble, and the victory in and of itself. We're going to be ranking this all the way from Hall of Fame down to it's trash. Let's start it off with 2003, Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar, the next big thing. As a rookie in 2002, he'd go on to win King of the Ring. He would annihilate Hulkamania, and he'd win the WWE Championship by beating The Rock at SummerSlam, becoming the youngest WWE champion in history. And he would then go on to main event against Kurt Angle in a very entertaining main event of WrestleMania 19, where he'd win the world title. So for all those reasons, and it did catapult Brock Lesnar. He was obviously already on his way with the rookie year, but this Royal Rumble win did help cement him as a perennial main eventer. So for all those reasons, we put Brock Lesnar in such good shit. 2004, we have Chris Benoit. So Benoit was the Iron Man. He lasted he started at number 1. He lasted the whole way. He eliminated plenty of main eventers throughout. Benoit would then go on to main event WrestleMania 20 and one of the best main events of all time at WrestleMania, one of the best triple threat matches of all time. He would win the championship in a triple threat versus Shawn Michaels and versus Triple H. Unfortunately, where he gets docked big points is this did not cement Benoit as a main eventer, because he ended up down in the mid card not too long after he won the championship. And for that reason, Benoit is going to have to go in the good category, despite the victory itself being good, him being the right winner, and the main event of WrestleMania match being really good. Because the fact that he dropped down to the mid card, I can't put it any higher. 2005, we have the Animal, Batista. Batista is a winner of one of the top Royal Rumble matches of all time, with the iconic botch at the end that made it even better. And Batista, this shot Batista to the moon. They strapped a rocket to him, and they used the Royal Rumble as the launch pad. Exactly what this match should do. He would go on to have Triple H would try to get him to face JBL for the WWE Championship, but he'd go on to go like these and choose Triple H and go on to dethrone his former mentor of Evolution, and he'd go on to beat Triple H for the world title in the main event of WrestleMania 21. So everything about this, the win itself, the victory itself, awesome match, awesome ending, right winner, awesome WrestleMania match, and it cemented Batista as an absolute top-tier main eventer in the company. Batista, Hall of Fame. 2006, Rey Mysterio, my favorite wrestler of all time. Let's start with the context leading into the Royal Rumble. Rey Mysterio was probably not going to be the winner, I wouldn't think, probably maybe. But Eddie Guerrero unfortunately passed away, so they went with the underdog story and the Rey honoring Eddie. He would come in at number 2, last over an hour, win the whole thing, came out in the lowrider, wins the Rumble. Rey would go on to definitely just the right winner as well, but Rey would go on to lose his spot at WrestleMania to Randy Orton, and then get reinserted, and then had a triple threat with Kurt Angle and Randy Orton, and would go on to win the championship. But same as Benoit, Rey Mysterio was just, they didn't treat him well, and he didn't stay at the top. He really wasn't cemented as a perennial main eventer. So for that reason as well as Benoit, Rey Mysterio is in the good. 2007, we have The Undertaker, my GOAT. This is a goated Royal Rumble as well. This Royal Rumble has the greatest sequence of the final two in Royal Rumble history. It was a 10-minute absolute masterclass between Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, which would end up being a preview of their 2 WrestleMania matches to come at WrestleMania 25 and WrestleMania 26, and those unbelievable great streak matches. Those two just had the greatest chemistry. So Undertaker, did he need to win? No. Was he already a main eventer cemented? Yeah. But the win itself was too good The match was so good. The ending with Shawn Michaels. So the victory in of itself. Also, this led to Undertaker having this cool like ceremony where he would look at, but he would stare down, Batista, John Cena, and Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley being the ECW champion, Cena being the WWE champ, Batista the world heavyweight, and he'd eventually just stare a hole through Batista and indicate that he's coming after the Animal. He would go on to have an underrated, not talked about enough streak match with Batista, and he would win the world title and keep the streak alive. Undertaker's got to go in such good shit. He didn't need to win it. He was already cemented, but everything else was so good about this that it's going to go in such good shit. 2008, John Cena. Did he need to win? No. He was already a perennial main eventer. But you can't go wrong with a guy that the context leading into the Royal Rumble is he's just out with a torn pec and he comes back 5 months early, superhuman. He comes out at number 30, blows the roof off the Garden, and Cena would go on to lose in a triple threat match against Triple H and Randy Orton at WrestleMania. WrestleMania 24. But this is really, despite that, despite him already being cemented, so not doing that, and despite the WrestleMania match not leading to nothing, this did nothing for Cena but an iconic moment where he comes back. But that's enough to put it in the good because John Cena blew the roof off the place. The context leading in, like I said, with the injury, the victory itself, and you can't go wrong with booking him to win the Royal Rumble that year with the return and everything like that. So that's enough for John Cena to get into the good despite the poor outcome and it not doing anything for him. 2009, we have Randy Orton. Randy Orton also was already cemented as a perennial main eventer. He was the top heel in the company. So this wasn't needed for Randy Orton, but he did dominate this Royal Rumble, so his victory in of itself was pretty good. He would go on to have one of the best all-time classic stories with Triple H. The animosity between the two, they were just like, was through the roof, tried to kill each other. And then it went back downhill with the match. A very underwhelming main event of WrestleMania 25 that had to go on after Michaels and Undertaker's greatest WrestleMania match of all time, in my opinion, and a lot of others too. But they had just no chance of following Taker and Michaels, and we all know what the main event should have been now. You can say hindsight's 2020, but you can also look at the 10 minutes of that 2007 ending sequence with Michaels and Taker back and forth and know that if they get put in a match at WrestleMania, their chemistry is just absolutely outstanding, astonishing. So the match was underwhelming. The story was an all-time classic. He did dominate the Rumble. He didn't need to win. This is going to have to go in the good category for Randy Orton. 2010, we have one of my favorite returns of all time, Edge coming back from injury at number 30. Holy shit. Edge, meanwhile, the victory itself was good. He'd eliminate top guys. In the... he'd come in at number 30, but he'd eliminate top guys in the very ending of the match. Guys like Cena, HBK, Chris Jericho, Batista. So he would really earn his win, and the context leading in with the injury and returning at number 30 is great. Didn't cement him as a main eventer. He was already there. It did also lead to a mediocre match at WrestleMania 26 with Chris Jericho. So Edge is also going to have to go in the good category, and it's going to be the last one in there for a while, because, oh boy, this is a slew of absolute horrendous creative decisions. 2011, they tried to rerun the Brock Lesnar rookie thing with Del Rio, and it was just extremely rushed. He shouldn't have won. It should have been a new Nexus leader, CM Punk, in my opinion. Del Rio is absolutely the wrong winner. This did nothing for Alberto Del Rio. It was rushed, and he'd go on to open WrestleMania and not even win the title. He'd lose to Edge. It didn't cement him as a WrestleMania, as a perennial main eventer. Well, this did nothing for Alberto Del Rio. This was awful, horrible, absolutely trash. and also to add into the Royal Rumble victory in of itself was horrible because it was a 40-man Rumble with a bunch of jobbers pretty much, and the roster was very thin at that time. But I would have went with New Nexus, CM Punk. Del Rio's absolutely trash. We all know we'd rather have Santino. 2012, we have Sheamus. Love Sheamus, but everyone and their mother knows who should have won this. Y2J was the right choice. He would actually go on to get the main storyline going into WrestleMania and the marquee match with CM Punk. So Sheamus ended up getting slotted in just an opener and an 18-second squash of Daniel Bryan, beginning the roots for the Yes Movement. But Sheamus was probably the second choice, but it should have been Y2J, so not the right winner. He did dominate the Rumble, so he has those points. But it didn't do anything for Sheamus. Also, he won the WWE Championship in 2010 as like super young. So he was already there, and this was the wrong choice, and this did nothing for Sheamus. It actually did him a disservice. He ended up like getting hated on because he squashed Daniel Bryan in 18 seconds. So this was not the right choice. It's going to have to sneak into, oh, come on, because it should have been Y2J, but it was a dominating Rumble win for Sheamus. He did dominate the Rumble, so the victory in of itself keeps it out of the trash category for Sheamus. 2013, we have John Cena. Now, this Royal Rumble is absolutely horrendous. I mean, we have guys, when the runner-up is Ryback, that you have a poor Rumble. It's also was so predictable. WWE couldn't think of any creative way to have John Cena versus The Rock Part 2 other than have Rock win the championship and have Cena win the Rumble and have them face off for the WWE Championship. That match absolutely shouldn't have been for the WWE Championship. It should be no title. Should have had Punk retain at the Rumble and then have Punk face someone else for the world title. I know we wouldn't get Punk and Taker streak match, but we'd get Cena and Rock no title, and Punk would stay the champion like he deserved to. And he should have, he still wouldn't have main evented. They would have been Rock and Cena for no title, but Punk would have kept his WWE Championship at least. And if not for that, the other thing I would have done is I would have had Punk win the Rumble since they did book themselves into a corner with Rock winning the belt off of Punk at Rumble. I would have had Punk win the Rumble again, a second Rumble, and I would have had John Cena get inserted and they do a triple threat with Cena, Rock, and Punk. If not the first scenario that I talked about, but they booked themselves into a corner, so at that point, I would have booked Punk and then got it into like a triple threat or something. This is just absolutely horrible. John Cena was obviously already cemented. He was cemented in the 2008 win, and this absolutely did nothing for Cena. This is horrible. I mean, this is just Super Cena winning a Rumble that he absolutely shouldn't win and last eliminating guys like Ryback. Trash. 2014, in these next two Royal Rumbles, the infamous 2014 Royal Rumble, the winner being a returning Batista as a babyface. And the crowd, absolutely, the right guy was Daniel Bryan. He was the natural fan favorite, and this did nothing for Batista. This was absolutely horrendous piss show of a Rumble. You have Daniel Bryan opens the Rumble against Bray Wyatt in a singles match and then isn't even in the match. This got my man Rey Mysterio booed at number 30. Unbelievable. And of course this led to one of the greatest stories of all time with the Yes Movement and the Perseverance story against the Authority. But that's the power of hindsight. Man, this is absolutely garbage. Batista had no business winning this. They wanted Daniel Bryan. They booed the hell out of Batista, and he was just absolutely not the right choice. This needed to be Daniel Bryan. And Batista was just... They made it even worse, having him come back as a babyface and then thinking that was going to work, and they just booed the shit out of him, and it was all about Daniel Bryan. So, Batista, you're definitely in the trash category. That Royal Rumbles... If you want to go back and watch those 14 and 15 Royal Rumbles and see how the crowd just turned on the whole Rumble because they just wanted Daniel Bryan, it's pretty amazing. And also a shit show to see that the old man was still just stuck up and against the fans. 2015, the infamous 2015 Rumble. This is also infamous. Roman Reigns would go on to win. Daniel Bryan once again should have been the winner this year. Daniel Bryan was in the match, but he get eliminated like halfway through. It's just, I mean, it's bad when they bring The Rock out and The Rock gets booed out of the building. So Rock and Roman are getting booed out of the building. This did nothing for Roman Reigns, but pushed the hate towards him, and then it would last for probably 5 more years after this till the Tribal Chief. I mean, he didn't recover for a long time. This absolutely should have been Daniel Bryan. He was the natural top fan favorite, and we're all like, we all despise the booking of Roman Reigns, and they just shoved us. They shoved him down our throats, and we all despise this booking of, and they'd like try to book him as like an underdog, and like that, as you'll see in the next Royal Rumble. But he was just like had this underdog booking, and like also just like this shoving down our throats push that no one wanted. We wanted Daniel Bryan. This was horrible. Once Bryan got eliminated, they absolutely turned on the rest of the match, and they did make even matters even worse. Reigns ended up coming out on top. The Rock's ass got booed, along with Roman. This is absolutely garbage. Back-to-back horrific Royal Rumble events. Hashtag cancel WWE Network. 2016, horrible Royal Rumble. 3 just absolutely trash Royal Rumbles in a row with trash winners. We have 2016. This match was for the WWE Championship. To note, they'd have Reigns enter at number 1 as like the Authority putting everything against him, and he has to defend the title entering at number 1. He'd go on to like people would like, I can't remember if like some of the Authority would like came out and like attacked Roman Reigns and like pulled him outside under the rope and like was beating him on the outside of the ring at one point in the Rumble, and they just did everything to make him lose the title and put everything against him. And then they tried to make us surprised with this evil boss coming in at number 30 with Triple H, and no one fell for it. No one cared. Triple H would then eliminate Roman Reigns and absolutely did nothing for Triple H. I don't think I need to say that. 2016, Triple H has no business winning the Royal Rumble, let alone the WWE Championship. This would then lead to a horrific WrestleMania 32 main event where Roman would beat Triple H and win the title back. This is horrible. In every aspect, this is also trash. 2017, we have Randy Orton. Now, Randy Orton was not... This was a Royal Rumble where there could have been a few winners. A lot of people say, like, he was already in a storyline with Bray Wyatt. He was intertwined with the story of Bray Wyatt going into the Royal Rumble. A lot of people think Bray should have gotten this Rumble since Randy already had one and had Randy win the title at the Chamber instead of the other way around, which Bray won it at the Chamber and Orton won the Rumble. They'd go on to have a horrific WrestleMania match. It did have a really good story with Randy Orton like burning down the Wyatt family compound, but it's everything else. I would say, yeah, Randy obviously didn't need it. It didn't cement him at all. The victory itself was fine, but I think the right winner should have been Bray Wyatt, but it wasn't horrible. And the story was good enough afterwards I think the story was good enough afterwards, and I think Randy Orton is going to have to go in. It's either good or, oh, come on, Randy Orton. Stick him in the, oh, come on. Because the match was horrific at WrestleMania 33, and this just did nothing for Randy Orton. I'd rather have like Ty Dillinger win the Rumble. He was hella over. 2018, we have Shinsuke Nakamura, who was absolutely a top star coming out of NXT, coming from New Japan, big free agent signing, then coming out of NXT, so over, wins the Royal Rumble. The victory in of itself, great. He entered like halfway through. He eliminated Roman Reigns, which got a huge pop. A lot of us liked that. And so he was the right choice. The victory in of itself was great. Really good Royal Rumble. But it goes downhill from there. He has a very underwhelming match that just completely underperforms with what we thought was just gonna tear our socks off with an AJ Styles Nakamura match. Where if you've seen their New Japan matches, they just, as you can imagine, they had amazing matches. But this WrestleMania match didn't deliver, and Nakamura came up short, and they had Nakamura lose, and he would never recover, really. He would get a few more title shots, and then he was down in the low mid-card. Terrible booking. This is horrific. The reason it's going to go in the, oh, come on, is because he was the right winner, and it was a great victory itself, along with the context leading to the Royal Rumble, that he was like, just this, he had a lot of aura, and he was really over, but other than that, it then went really downhill in the aftermath of the Royal Rumble, so he can only be as high as, oh, come on. 2018, we have the first women's Royal Rumble. Asuka would go on to win. She was as like Nakamura, coming in, big signing from New Japan. Japanese dominated this Royal Rumble. Asuka should have been the winner. Great choice for the first women's Royal Rumble winner in that year in particular. And it also was a good Royal Rumble match. The 2018 Women's Royal match was a good first Royal Rumble match. So this did establish her as a perennial main eventer, unlike Nakamura. She did, similarly to Nakamura, she did go on to lose her WrestleMania match and lose her undefeated streak. The whole undefeated streak really helps this thing. That's the context leading to the Royal Rumble with the streak. And if you want to count the Royal Rumble match as a streak, like a streak match, like she won and kept her streak, and then just to lose the title match to Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 34, and it's just absolutely the wrong choice. Fortunately for her, she didn't get just sabotaged afterwards. She was this established her as a top main eventer in the women's division in the company. So for the first women's Royal Rumble winner, despite the bad booking of her losing at WrestleMania, everything else is pretty good. So we're going to put this into the good category. Coming up next is the 2019 Women's Royal Rumble, and this is by far the better Royal Rumble, way better than the men's. Becky Lynch had a title match earlier in the night, I believe maybe against Asuka, if I remember right, and she would enter the Royal Rumble match only because Lana would come out and like get injured or get attacked or something. And they had this angle where then Becky walked out, and then she got an unreal pop, and she was demanding to get into the match, and finally they pointed her to the ring and allowed her to walk, and the crowd just erupted, and Becky Lynch would go in and really go on to begin what catapulted her to the top of the industry. She was the biggest thing in all professional wrestling in 2019. She main evented the first ever women's WrestleMania main event, and she was the catalyst for that. And she also was, for women's wrestling as a whole, did wonders. I mean, this was the beginning of now women's WrestleMania main event would main event 2 years later, become the second one to main event. Women were getting treated very good, and this was absolutely great. She would win the title in a triple threat match. It wasn't the greatest match. It was all right. Crowd was tired. Long ass show. Into the next night, next day when she won. But I'm not gonna let that keep it out of the Hall of Fame. It's too much of it's a very influential victory. It has to be in Hall of Fame alongside Batista. 2019 Royal Rumble, Seth Rollins. As I noted, this is not a good Royal Rumble match, but the victory in of itself was fine. They did book Rollins very strong, and in the match and up until WrestleMania, where he'd go on to beat Brock Lesnar and as the Beast Slayer. He last eliminated Braun Strowman, right? Like, he was the right winner. He was the right choice, but he was obviously already cemented as a perennial main eventer. But I don't think that it was the wrong choice, and I don't think it all led to a very good booking of him slaying the Beast in the opener at WrestleMania 35. So for that, Seth Rollins can go in the good category. Coming up next, we have the 2020 Royal Rumble. One of the top Royal Rumble matches of all time, happening just before the pandemic. And this was just one of the most brilliant booked Royal Rumbles ever, with Brock Lesnar entering at number 1 as the WWE champion, just eliminating, throwing every human being that comes close to him over the top rope, chucking guys over, up until the crowd would erupt on a beautiful Claymore kick to Lesnar to eliminate Lesnar, and Drew McIntyre would get shot up to the top of the company as the top babyface, and he came into that match as a heel, and he ended up the top babyface in the company because it was booked so brilliantly. Great Royal Rumble match, unbelievable booking, and the right winner, and it led to, unfortunately, not going to dock him points, but it led to a Pandemic Mania WrestleMania win against Lesnar. So not going to dock the Pandemic ruining the match at all at WrestleMania. This did everything for Drew McIntyre. This is exactly what the Royal Rumble is supposed to do. Great match, brilliant booking, Hall of Fame for Drew McIntyre. 2020 Women's Royal Rumble, Charlotte Flair. She didn't need to win this match. She'd think eliminate Rhea Ripley last. This was not. I don't think this is the right winner. I think. I don't think it's a terrible decision, but I don't think she's necessarily the right winner. Charlotte would. She'd go on to choose. This is where it really loses me. It's not because she shouldn't have won or it was just a terrible choice to win, really. But she goes after the NXT Championship, and that's cool. But there's no reason that the Rumble winner should be going after the NXT Women's Championship. And it led to a match with Rhea Ripley. Charlotte Flair has to go into the oh, come on. I was gonna put her in the trash, but I'll save her that the Women's Rumble wasn't nothing like these. It wasn't a shit show. She can go in the oh, come on. And I'm not gonna let the pandemic influence the choice either, because she had a match in the Performance Center with Rhea Ripley for the NXT Women's Championship, but that was just underwhelming that she went after the NXT Women's Championship. I digress. 2021, we have Bianca Belair, and this is what the Royal Rumble, this is like Drew McIntyre, this is like Batista. Bianca Belair would enter at number 3. She'd last the rest of the way, obviously, winning the match. Great Royal Rumble match. This is the Pandemic Rumble. Bianca Belair would go on to main event WrestleMania. So this established Bianca coming out of NXT as an absolute perennial main eventer, literally main eventing WrestleMania in an absolute classic program. A great program and a classic match with Sasha Banks in the main event of WrestleMania 37 Night 1. This was absolutely the right choice. Everything that followed was absolutely great. The main event at WrestleMania with Sasha, what it did for Bianca absolutely cemented Bianca Belair as a top 2 or 3 women's wrestler, and that's saying something when there was starting to get very stacked at this time in women's wrestling. Bianca Belair is still, I bet, will never fall. She'll never fall like super far down. I mean, she has been going for the tag titles and stuff, but she's already back to having a triple threat world title match at WrestleMania. Bianca Belair, this was Hall of Fame. Just absolutely great. Great Royal Rumble choice. Great booking. Great WrestleMania match. 2021 Pandemic Men's Rumble. We have Edge. Edge would last the distance. He'd start at number 1 or 2, and he'd go on to win the match and then face Randy Orton. or not Randy Orton, my bad. Still on the Pandemic Mania because it's the Pandemic Rumble, so I got confused. He faced Orton in the Pandemic Mania. He would then go on to main event in a triple threat match against Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan, an exceptional match. Edge obviously no business winning this, but Edge it led to a great match, and it was a great victory in of itself because he lasted the whole way, eliminating Randy Orton last. So I'm going to have to put Edge in the good category. Now, this is really, really concerning. 2022 Women's Royal Rumble. Ronda Rousey was not the right choice because she just didn't have that aura or mystique about her anymore in her second stint. This could have been a handful of other women, and she'd go on to not even choose what we clamored for since the WrestleMania main event at 35 with Charlotte getting added and making it a triple threat in the Women's Take-All World Championship main event at WrestleMania 35. We were then waiting once Ronda Rousey left WWE to come back and have the very anticipated match with Becky Lynch. She'd go on to, instead of choosing Becky, she'd just choose Charlotte Flair. Absolutely makes no sense. We waited for that match, and she chose that she shouldn't have been the winner, and then she chose the wrong champion. It led to it wasn't a good WrestleMania match with Charlotte because Ronda Rousey, not a good professional wrestler, and this is going to have to go in the absolute trash. And this doesn't get any better. This is my least favorite Royal Rumble of all time. This made me sick. This is the worst booked match I've ever seen. We had really great wrestlers just getting thrown out with ease by Brock. He came in at number 30 after losing the WWE Championship earlier in the night to Bobby Lashley, only to regain the WWE Championship before WrestleMania and then face Roman Reigns in a champion versus champion winners take all. Greatest WrestleMania main event. The most stupendous. And this was just atrocious. Brock Lesnar absolutely didn't need this. Absolutely the wrong winner. And crazy booking. That the victory itself was horrible. How are you going to have him lose the WWE Championship earlier in the night, come out number 30? So predictable. You could hear a pencil drop in the damn stadium when Brock Lesnar came out at number 30. He'd win the Rumble. He'd start throwing guys out like crazy. Like guys like really good wrestlers. I haven't watched that Rumble back, so I can't even think. But he's just throwing out top guys because he can, just with ease. And it was just absolutely just so cringe-worthy. It really gave you, like, it gave me such a bad taste in my mouth watching this. And it's just the definition of Vince McMahon's booking at the end of his time. He had absolutely lost every sense of touch he had on the business. So Brock Lesnar, absolutely garbage, along with the 2022 Women's Royal Rumble winner. 2023, we have Cody Rhodes. Now this is the right choice. Coming back from the torn pec. So the context leading up to the Royal Rumble is great. Coming back from the torn pec, WWE ruined it, as they know to do, by spoiling Cody Rhodes' return. They also had him come out at number 30, which made him look weak because he'd last eliminate Gunther, who was the Iron Man, lasted over an hour, entering at the start, and it just made Cody Rhodes look weak because he'd last eliminated a guy that's been in there over an hour. He should have been entering, if anything, at the start, or at least in the middle, or at least not eliminate the guy that's starting. So, but we all know this led to an incredible story. This cemented Cody Rhodes. This was part of the story, and really the kind of like the beginning of the story is he'd win the Rumble match. He'd go on to lose in an exceptional match against Roman Reigns, and of course eventually finish the story the next year at WrestleMania, which we'll get to that Royal Rumble win. But Cody Rhodes, I'm going to have to put in the good category because it was the right choice. Context leading to the Royal Rumble was great with the return, and it really cemented Cody Rhodes as a top guy, the top or one of the top guys, if not the top guy, at least the top babyface, and maybe behind Roman, but he's top babyface for sure. And Cody Rhodes is going to go in the good category. But WWE shouldn't spoil returns. That really makes me want to put it in the come on. But it's definitely good. Rhea Ripley, this was by far the better Royal Rumble match this year. The Women's Royal Rumble Rhea Ripley would go on to have a dominating performance. She'd go on to have an absolutely dominating performance in the Royal Rumble. She was the right win. She had already established herself in the last few years, but this is kind of like Brock Lesnar, where like she already was on her way up, but this was definitely the right choice and definitely like started the Rhea Ripley top 2, top 3 women's wrestler in the company. So this is the right choice. The victory itself was great, dominating, and it led to a terrible story with Charlotte Flair. There's really no story at all, but it's one of the greatest WrestleMania matches, women's wrestling matches ever. And she wins the title, beating Charlotte Flair on like an Asuka. So everything about this is great, other than the story. But I'm not gonna let that bring this below such good shit. It'd be nice if they didn't just have lackluster women stories, though. For some of the world title stories for women, just they don't even try. 2024, finally, last but not least, Cody Rhodes, back-to-back Royal Rumble wins. I thought this was either going to be Punk or Rhodes. I thought they might go with Punk, and then Rhodes would further the putting him in a bad spot by losing the Royal Rumble and trying to tell this story where he can't get it done at the Royal Rumble. He's got one more chance at the Chamber to get that rematch with Roman and finish the story. But he would win, which not mad at. And I loved he pointed at Roman because it was like, oh, we're confirmed getting the rematch, and we're gonna get to see Cody finish the story. But then everything would just go crazy with The Rock taking his spot. But then, of course, we all know that led to unbelievable aftermath. So Cody Rhodes, I'd say, is the right winner. The victory itself was good. Great ending sequence with Punk, despite Punk being injured. And this did wonders for Cody Rhodes, obviously, just like the last one did. He was already a main eventer, so I can't say like this cemented him like the first one. We don't really dock points for that because he was the right winner going back to back, and it was to complete that story that he had just been facing that adversity. That's why I thought he might lose the Royal Rumble and continue like facing adversity and persevere in the Chamber and then persevere at WrestleMania. But this was great. Besides that SmackDown where The Rock took his spot, but it turned out great. As we all know, absolutely pure cinema. Cody Rhodes is going to go in the Hall of Fame. No, I'm going to put him in such good shit. I'm going to keep him in such good shit, just because it doesn't have that. These Hall of Fame choices are because it absolutely cemented them and skyrocketed them to the top of the company and did what the match is supposed to do. Just not exactly like that with this win. But anyways, I digress. Very great Royal Rumble altogether. Great choice to win the Royal Rumble. And the aftermath was awesome. WrestleMania 40 main event. Arguably the greatest main event in the history of WrestleMania. I was there. 2024 Women's. Last but not least, Bayley, the right choice. She was very over, top babyface women's wrestler in the company at this point, and she had the Damage Control storyline, which was incredible. She'd go on to, the Damage Control, the women's champion Io Sky was like figuring, okay, Bayley's definitely going to go after Rhea Ripley, but they told a story where they were talking behind Bayley's back in Japanese. Kairi Sane, Asuka, and Io Sky, but Bayley knew what they were saying the whole time, and then so attacked and turned on Io Sky and chose her instead of Rhea because she knew that they were talking behind her back and she actually understood what they were saying. This was a great story, the right winner. It led to her beating Io Sky in a great women's championship match at WrestleMania. And it obviously didn't cement Bayley. She's already cemented as one of the 4 horsewomen, one of the best women's wrestlers of all time. But regardless, I mean, everything else was great. Everything about it, from the right choice to the great WrestleMania match to the great story. It really had it all. The victory in itself was good. Good Royal Rumble. It just doesn't have that piece where she was already cemented. But it was nice to see her finally get that big spot at WrestleMania. She hadn't had the spot at WrestleMania. You know, she has a very illustrious career, but not really at WrestleMania. So that was nice to see her get that story. And she was like the Cody Rhodes of the women's division that year. And they both won championships at WrestleMania. They were both the absolute right choice. Bayley will go into the... Where we want to put our last wrestler here, Bayley will have to go into... Make a decision, brother. Such good shit for Bayley. I don't want to put 5 Hall of Fames versus 4 good, such good shit. But yeah, I think Cody Rhodes and Bayley are both, put them in here because it didn't cement them. Same reason for both. They were already there. I could easily put both of those in Hall of Fame, to be honest. Definitely Cody Rhodes. But I'm definitely content with them being in such good shit. Anyways, that's gonna wrap it up. That was a slogger, slobber knocker. This was a long video, a very tough video to make, and so it took a lot of time. I appreciate dropping a like if you enjoyed it. This did take a lot out of me and was really hard, so I'd appreciate it if you dropped a like if you enjoyed. Of course, you can subscribe if you feel free to, and just gonna wrap it up for me. Wrestling Reacts out of here.